Y'all can rest in peace, now you're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're just freaked out. Get ready for defeat now, I'm gonna make you bleed out. Listen on repeat now and weed out all the weak now. Get up.
Hey, I exist. Let's see if this is actually streaming or not. Face to face. Actually, I don't need these. I'm not talking to no one today. Cool. One thing I love about doing this on my computer, I can actually just type things out instead of fiddle with my fucking phone in a group. Send it to Flint Politics Reboot and post. And we'll come to the YouTube. And go here and make sure it's running on there. Yeah, sweet. Go ahead and close these browsers. How is everyone doing? It has been a minute. I've been obviously moving around. I've got a new place, doing new things. I've got a shooting range in my backyard, guys. It is astounding. But Flint don't leave you alone, does it? And while I've been busy, setting up my new life, we had something wonderful come from Mayor Neely. I dislike that little guy. I swear to goodness. Let me see. I do believe I saved it in my telephone. Mayor Neely. Mayor Neely urges Flint community to de-escalate political rhetoric. I have said many times, think positive, speak positive. For a positive Flint, this may seem simplistic, but words are powerful. We must all make a choice together to speak positively into our politics, not calls to harm or hate, not calls to jail our political opponents. We must choose peace to heal our democracy. It starts here in Flint. In Flint, we have witnessed threats against local officials and long guns being brought to public meetings. I'm sorry, dude. That one right there. That one. Ha! Anyway, residents have been assaulted and threatened in city council chambers. We have heard inflammatory rhetoric that we fear will escalate to violence. This type of intimidation prevents people from participating in American tradition of local self-governance and threatens our democracy as a whole. We cannot allow this to continue. Where to start? He's talked about not talking ill of others. And while he keeps his hands clean 90% of the time, he uses his puppets to talk negatively about those he does not like. The man talks negatively through Liddell Lewis and Quincy Murphy, Judy Priestley, and Candace Machette about Wintus, about Tanya, about Mickey, about me at times. He cannot practice what he preaches. He is a man that is so dishonest to his core that he can't say something simple without it being a lie. One of the things I've seen is jailing of a political opponent. Well, how many times have they tried to jail Mr. Mays? I remember the night that he was last escorted out of council. They had several cops there. I think it was like 5 or 6, about to throw a 60-plus-year-old man in handcuffs for speaking his mind. It was absolutely terrible. And while we have called for the arrest of Quincy Murphy, Liddell Lewis, Candace Machette, and Eva Worthing, we've called for their arrest not for political reasons, but because we believe they're corrupt. How many times have we seen money flow through the city of Flint into one of their special interests, into their pockets? The Starbucks Park Foundation, they had to change, or Liddell had to change, who was director and who was president. Why? Because she was caught red-handed trying to give herself money. $50,000. And as we all know, most of that money will not go toward any project. It goes toward either administrative fees or payroll. And when it goes to payroll, as most of them do, it goes toward the board. So directors, treasurer, president. And Tia, the weather is fucking hot. on the YouTube side, Tia Harris, how's the weather? Hot. I stepped out for a minute today. I started sweating. Actually, guys, in case, I know you can't tell, but I've lost 10 pounds since I've been here, all in sweat. All in sweat. Quincy, back to topic. Quincy Murphy is trying to give his church a good chunk of change as well, and then trying to pick up $30,000+ to renovate a basketball court. Hey, Tony. But as we all know in Flint, the way that money gets circulated around is going to go toward a contractor that he likes, respects, or owes a favor to, and in the back end, he'll more than likely receive a kickback, just like he did for his vote with Ashley Capital. We've called for their arrest because in times past, we've seen Liddell Lewis pick up $1,200 supposedly in candy for the Starbucks Park Foundation, in which she turned into a profit for the Starbucks Park Foundation, charging children $5 a piece to go through her fucking little park. We've seen Quincy Murphy pick up a $12,000 lawnmower, plus several $100s in gift cards to pass out around his ward. And I still do not believe that he has given all those out, that he still uses them to this day. And those are the two that we know about. We're not calling for political jailing. We're calling for jailing of corrupt officials. Then we get to assault and intimidation inside city council chambers. As long as I've been playing around in Flint politics, I have never seen anyone on this side of the aisle go after or near a political opponent, whether they be on council, up on the dais, or in the audience. I have seen, however, people from the other side approach us. I've seen Liddell Lewis try to pick a fight with 3 grown men. I've seen Eva Worthing try to pick a fight with Tanya Burns twice. I've seen Candace Machat try to pick a fight with Tanya Burns twice. I've seen Quincy Murphy try to fight Councilman Mays 2 or 3 times. So while he is putting this out into the public, making it seem like we are intimidating, I really wish that he would remember that his own side are the ones that have initiated violence in the past. Now, his own police officers have assaulted people inside city council chambers and then try to violate the Open Meetings Act by closing the door. Strange, right? And it took for an assassination of attempted assassination of a former president for him to come out with all this. Where was this rhetoric when things were rough? Or when it wasn't convenient, when it wasn't something for him to jump on a national bandwagon? Why couldn't he have said this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months ago? Instead, he sees it as a way of pushing something like gun control and trying to seem like the bigger man. Now, key word there, operating word, seem like the bigger man, because everyone knows Mayor Neely's about 5'6", wears platform shoes, and looks like a golf caddy. he tried conflating a honest and sincere protest of me carrying that hellion over my left shoulder into city council. And the reason I did that was I believed that that damn metal detector was against our Fourth Amendment rights. You have every right to step in to any place and not have anything exposed on you. You could be carrying a credit card. Is that any of their fucking business? You could be carrying a knife. Is that any of their fucking business? You could or could not be carrying your ID. Is that any of their fucking business? So then why is it their business if you're carrying a firearm for self-defense in one of the most dangerous cities in Michigan? Flint goes through a shooting at least once a night. Sometimes multiple in the night, and the police don't respond. Downtown Flint, right next to City Hall, I was standing outside with Sister Audrey Muhammad the last time I attended council. And as we were standing there talking, we saw a man who was obviously high on something. My best guess would be crack cocaine, but there could be other things: meth, crocodile, heroin. And not only was he trying to fight other men down at that Sunoco, he was taking his shirt off and chasing after two young ladies until they got across the street. Myself and Sister Audrey Muhammad were about ready to go intervene. All that while within a block of 3 police officers up in city council chambers. No cops around. No one saw this. No one would have been there to help those two young ladies. That's why Sister and Audrey Muhammad and myself were looking at possible intervention. So the fact that people carry concealed weapons into city council chambers, it's kind of a given. Especially given the fact that, well, yes, local officials have received death threats. I'm not denying that in any shape and or form. I will say that many times they're exaggerated. Liddell Lewis, speaking of, I don't want to get this taken down off YouTube or the face space, but a certain type of assault that is most heinous that will usually get you the post-life penalty down here in Florida now. That was proven to be false. However, there are verifiable records that myself, Wentis, Mickey, Tanya Burns, just about anyone on this side. I know Sister Audrey Muhammad receives them as well. Threats to our life, threats of grievous bodily injury, or in some cases I have seen threats of that certain type of assault toward the females over here. So yeah, I decided I'm carrying a gun. I go into City Hall, and there's a metal detector. I hear about a metal detector. All right, well, if you want to know what's on me, I'm going to make sure you fucking see it. And that's where that came in. And somehow he's trying to conflate that with an attempted assassination on former President Trump and make it seem like that was a violent act. Let me be honest with you. Number one, no one in that chamber could have operated that thing other than me. I'm sorry, it is not a standard firearm. It was a right to protest, protesting against perceived threats to my Fourth Amendment rights. And now that I've done that, my First Amendment right to protest and speak freely has come under attack, and my Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms has come under attack repeatedly by men who does not believe that anyone other than elected officials should carry. Because yes, when they did set up a gun-free zone, guess what? Elected officials and their staff would be exempt. So Mayor Neely, Judy Priestley, their staff would have been freely allowed to carry a firearm in there, while you and I would not be. Rules for thee, not for me, is exactly what he was setting up. He set it up to where elected officials are more important than the people they serve. I think he's forgotten that any of those seats, 1 through 9 plus mayor's seat, don't belong to the people that put their asses in them. They belong to the people of the city of Flint. He set it up to where he is the most important on a scale. The man doesn't go anywhere without a police escort, and now his number one on city council, well, she gets chauffeured by cops. But where's your protection? Who is out there making sure that you are safe? It's not our city police. They're too busy with basically Secret Service detail. And if anything were to happen, I hope that they're better than the Secret Service that was trying to cover former President Trump. Because I don't wish harm upon any of them. I do wish bad luck upon them, such as, investigations that could put them in prison, or at very least, I hope they wake up every morning, stub their toe, and spill their coffee on themselves. And then, comes the personal side of things. Lately, A10's come under attack from a lot of different different avenues, some of which I thought we were friends with, but to be honest, we were kind of expecting it. Nothing lasts forever. And it's rather sad because we've worked with some of these folks for a very long time. Some even before I ever showed up. And the fact that we are not aligning currently opens us up to now fallout forever. That's the type of game that this is. That you can have an alliance for a few days or a few months. But just like in all politics, there are no friends, only interest. Tia, right now, I don't want to, because we got more important things than what Art's doing. Right now, we've got 2 city council seats that are far more important than our beefs. And thank you for setting up the segue for that. Because while we may not be agreeing, or while someone's acting out, or while someone doesn't agree with how we're running things, it doesn't change the fact that Miss Rosemaro and Miss McIntosh both are friends of A10. I've let this know. I happen to support Miss Rosemaro, who's come under attack several times. Her campaign office has been burned twice. And I want you guys to think about that for a second. If you weren't a threat, they wouldn't come after you. And seeing as what they are doing happens to be criminal 90% of the time, then the threat that she presents is lawfulness. The threat that she presents is doing things correctly. That's how I feel. But Miss Carroll also has several good points of her own. I think either or would be a better choice than a selected puppet sitting in the first ward seat. Because the first ward selected Eric Mays, they wanted someone that would stand up for them. And I believe that's what either of these 2 women will do. And then we have the 7th ward seat. We've got Jan Marie Arbor running against Candace Machado. We've seen who Candace Machado is. We know who she is. She is a threat to the city of Flint. She is another money-grubby politician. She's run for state rep and got handily beat down by Miss Neely. That was, I believe, in the same race as Clack was time before last. She's one of those that'll go for any position that she can because it influences money. So we've got far more important things to worry about right now than us maybe having a beef or someone trying to tear us down. Because take a look at this. I'm probably one of the least popular people on this platform. And I've still got 33 people tuning in. It doesn't matter what other people say. You guys want to hear facts? You want to hear our opinions on facts? More than welcome. Whether you like us or not, you're more than welcome. Just don't start shit in our comments. Because today, I'm in control, and I get to delete things if I see fit. That's the deal, though. Flint has got much more to worry about. People are worried about money. People are worried about, will I have a home at the end of this year? People are worried about, will I have food to feed my children? Can I pay the water bill, or will they take my home? Will the roads beat up my car? Can I afford to fix my car? The way things are going, the current city council loves raising taxes. They've said it themselves. That is a direct and open thing, saying that they know that certain people in the city of Flint are having problems. Hell, the poverty rate in Flint is over 42%. That means from the national average of $40-something thousand, 42% cannot make that. They're looking to get rid of people. Or they're looking to take over people's homes because many of those homes have been bought and paid for a long time. They aren't comfortable with home ownership in the city of Flint. What they are comfortable with is rentership, because that is permanent income toward their friends. I'll be honest with you, if I grew up in a house that my grandfather bought, grandmother, I would do everything I can to stay in there, even if it meant being a renter. Men and women are now terrified that they can't feed their kids. I actually paid my taxes before I left because I wasn't going to leave the person I gave my home to in a tax debt to the city. It turns out that since the city had reassessed, they sent a letter to the house, and the new owner has gotten a hold of us and said, I can't pay this, but it's in your name. We'll take care of it for you, don't worry. Because when it comes to $1,000 in taxes a year, split among 2 tax seasons, a lot of people just can't afford that. Because you've also got to worry about your bills. I mean, hell, if they raise taxes on the consumer's energy building, that's going to raise your power bill. If they raise taxes on, say, any of the internet providers around there, that's going to raise your internet bill. And they know this. The sad and terrible truth is that they are tired of the people of Flint being free of financial burden to the city or to special interest. They don't want you to be able to make choices for yourself. They want you to have to pay for that privilege. And you see it every time city council goes up there, because every time they pass a bill or every time they decide to go with a resolution, what that does is it means the city needs more money. And that's how they justify raising your taxes. They put themselves in debt to put you further in. And when you do eventually lose your home because you can't keep up, because they're not bringing good jobs into the city of Flint. No one wants to be in the city of Flint with their multi-million-dollar company. Hell, you have to go outside the city of Flint to go to Walmart. You have to go to the fucking township. So when no good jobs are forthcoming because of the crime that they refuse to address, when that crime is also affecting the insurance rates. Business insurance is damn near impossible to get in some parts of the city of Flint. Take a look at the north side. A side that they have been since at latest, they started in 2014. To remove services from. How often do you see a cop patrol up there? How often do you see an ambulance stationed up there? How often do you see roads maintained up there? I've gone onto the north side and have hit dirt roads in the middle of a fucking city. Honestly, I live on a dirt road now, and it's better maintained than the paved roads in the city of Flint. They're trying to get people out of the north side. So they let the crime run wild. They don't put any services there. And then when businesses are looking to open up a branch, it's definitely not going to be on the north side, because if you take a look at insurance premiums, the north side is far worse off. You're talking 2 or 3 times the national average. Who in their right mind would set up a business there? And for the local businesses, that is even worse, because to operate a business, you have to have insurance. If something happens on your property, X, Y, or Z, you are liable. That's why you see so many people being smart and having mobile businesses. They'll go set up in a parking lot and drop down a table, sell shirts, or drop down X, Y, and Z. Or if they want to run a restaurant and a kitchen, they put it in a truck. Honestly, I think that's the greatest idea I've ever seen. It isn't breaking the rules, it is making it outside of the rules. That is the most important part that we can really start doing at this time. Until we can change council, until we can change the mayor, until we can change how the police forces actually run. A while ago, we saw Sheriff Swanson on with Winters Hall in the Morning Bump. And I have an honest hope that someday Sheriff Swanson will take over the policing of Flint before he runs for governor. Because our current police chief, well, I can't say ours anymore, can I, guys? The current police chief happens to go along with the get along. He and Neely have been friends forever and a day. Whereas Neely has an agenda, and that means Chief Green does too. And you hear Tanya talk about it often, very often on city council, where crime has gotten to the point when people do commit a violent act, they don't just do a drive-by anymore. They stop a car, get out, walk toward the house. They've had no compunctions or thoughts or cares about who may be in the house. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, a young man died from one of those attacks, and then a child's room, two children in a room were narrowly missed. But you'll see more cops in city council chambers than you will at any of those crime scenes. And it's heartbreaking. We all have friends, family, or loved ones that live there. Or maybe someone that you just know off of 810 that you chat with in the comments. And the fact that so many people, tomorrow we could wake up and be without just a random act of violence because the city refuses to protect itself, is disgusting. I mean, and Tia Harris here, let me go ahead and put up your comment. Crime affects not only business insurance, but homeowners and auto insurance. This is absolutely correct. But the point I was trying to get to is that businesses won't set up because it costs them too much, which means people aren't getting jobs. But yeah, homeowners insurance. Say a blizzard hits and rips apart your home. You don't have homeowners insurance because it costs something like 4 times the national average. Auto insurance is absolutely insane. I own both my vehicles outright. I was able to get the cheapest insurance there was. The cheapest insurance there was $210 with a decent policy. You see people driving around all over Flint because they can't afford to even register their cars, so they don't even have license plates on there. No license plates, no insurance. That is the norm. People are just doing what they can just to get by. And it seems to be the city government's policy to make getting by harder and harder every day. Until you find ways to lower your monthly expenses so you can play their game. By lowering your monthly expenses, they might say, let a bill lapse and let the house be taken by X, Y, and Z, and you become a renter again. that is something that they're completely fine with. I was reached out to earlier this week by a very nice, kind lady. And I forget the pronunciation of her name. I believe Mr. Constable, the landlord for 810, called her Miss Tanya, not Tanya Burns. But she runs a actual nonprofit. Well, she's starting it up, and she has worked for nonprofits in the city for homeless. According to her last numbers, there were over 4,000 homeless in the city of Flint. That is greater than 10%. And that includes people couch surfing, sleeping in their cars, going to shelters, because there's only 2 shelters. It's turned into one of the most devastating problems that isn't talked about. You don't see men and women who are doing well live on the streets. You don't see a city that is doing well with a greater than 10% homeless population. And while everyone on council says we're doing the work of the city, everything's better. Oh, look, crime is down. No, crime is not down. Things are not better. The cost of living is higher. It just will. By the way, I need to get with you. I need some beard shampoo. But yeah, cost of living is higher. Cost of existing is higher. I wouldn't even call it living. Because day to day you're worried. You're stressed. How are you going to feed your kids tonight? Do I pay my car insurance or do I pay my doctor's bill? Mama Quill pointing out the obvious. Crime is not down. Crime is not being reported. And that is for 2 reasons. I'd say November of 2022, when my father died, I remember watching this live between Woodson, Tanya Burns, Councilwoman Tanya Burns, and Councilman Mays. And Tanya Burns brought up that they changed how the city of Flint reports and responds. If there are certain calls that don't meet certain criteria, they don't respond. If they don't respond, they don't have to put it in their books. But it doesn't get passed to the sheriffs or MSP either. So it goes unreported. It goes unreacted to. That's the first part. And that lowers their numbers significantly. So when you take a look at a piece of paper that shows, say, 2018 compared to 2024, 2024's numbers are going to be lower because they're playing with them. In a legal way, mind you, but it's still a lie. It's a lie with that hint of truth. The other part is people have lost faith in the police force. Why am I going to call someone to show up? Or why am I going to call someone about a crime when they won't show up? The most important thing you can do for yourself in the city of Flint is take care of yourself. So if you see a crime happening, yes, obviously call the cops. But if it is a violent crime and you are a victim, protect yourself. Let me click this and read it aloud for the first time. At the rate of the increase of the financial burdens on us here in Flint, I may have to rent a room at your new house in Florida. Well, as long as you like 2 dogs, a cat, and can stand someone as neurotic as me, yes, perfectly fine. Coffee maker's in the kitchen. And I probably have another mini fridge I can throw you. But no, Tia is absolutely correct. More and more people are doing one of 3 things. They're letting things lapse, they're moving out, or families are starting to move in together, multi-generational. And some of these homes, while it's not pleasant, you at least have some money and you can split the expenses. So mom and dad own home, kids move back in with them and bring grandkids. That's actually a good one just well. Let me put this one up. I don't know if you spoke on this before, but do you find yourself in some kind of trauma response, not having limitations on water now? So when I was buying this place, state of Florida requires certain tests, especially VA-funded home loans. One of the things that they require is a well test, since I have a well. And I paid an extra $600, I believe it was, to have it tested for all the things that Flint has in its water that we can't touch. When I moved here, I broke apart some of the pipes to look for corrosion. Because at my old house, like I told you guys a month and a half ago, the pipes are half full of corrosion. So yeah, there has been a trauma response. Living in Flint, you will never trust the water again. We still don't drink from the tap here. We still have cases of water. But I'm not terrified that I'm going to keel over and die if I put water from my sink into my coffee pot. It has been different. Before I moved to Flint, I lived in Midland, Texas, and I had no compunction about turning on a water hose, grabbing a drink if I was outside working. Moved to Flint, and you look at water like it's death incarnate. Am I putting lead in my body? Am I putting, random chemicals in there? Am I getting car battery acid? Or am I just going to pick up Legionella today? It was always a Russian roulette if you had to use tap water for anything. And one of the things that struck me the most is my wife doing the dishes now. Number one, she trusts a dishwasher. And number two, we don't have to wipe our dishes down after work, after we wash them, because what else were you going to do? Like, how else were you going to do dishes in Flint? Run the sink, put in your soap, all right, rinse it, wipe it down, rinse it. She used the dishwasher there as a fucking drying rack. But then afterwards, there were times to take a paper towel, wipe it down, see what comes up. It was pretty bad. And instead of taking care of the water with ARPA funds, instead of actually working with the wind funds properly, they squandered both of those opportunities. The state had to step in to repair yards. I'm hoping the state steps in again and actually just takes care of the rest of the service lines. But they do need to, I'd say the people need to re-sue and bring up the fact that Benton Harbor and other places around Michigan have had entire appliances and plumbing reworked inside their homes for water crisis scares, while Flint, who went through an actual water crisis, is still having to make do. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if your refrigerator hooked up to water, the inside of your refrigerator now will forever have that corrosion in it. Your pipes running from your water heater will, until you replace them, have corrosion in them that had the exact same problems that caused the Flint water crisis in the first place. And the sad fact is that the state is only allowing for like 12. Well, the lawyers didn't argue hard enough, and now each household is picking up $1,200. When you take a look at other lawsuits throughout the United States, any sort of emotional trauma can get you paid upwards of $20,000 to $30,000 just by itself through a court. and the city of Flint receiving 1/30th of that is absolutely insane. The city of Flint isn't really all that cared about, it would seem. It would seem that poor folks, white and black, Hispanic and Asian, and Flint being, I believe last I checked, 52% African American, got overlooked for one factor or the other. But richer communities got all their stuff taken care of for free, which freaks me out. People who can afford it got it for free, while people who cannot afford it, well, you're on your own. It doesn't make sense to me. Make it make sense. Math ain't mathing here. And then when you have certain fools stand up in front of an audience of the majority of Flint and then people from around the country that tune in to Flint City Council meetings and say everything's fine, you're doing great, you're moving forward. I commend X, Y, and Z on their work on the water crisis. In this case, you'll see them tout Mayor Neely. Oh, well, he's over 90% done. It's been over 90% done since he took office. And no one on their side wants to tell or remind people that Mayor Neely said, take the settlement. Remember, this is the floor, not the ceiling. Except it went down from the floor, so now you're in the basement. My wife and I have agreed that we're not going to go through the trouble for that $1,200. It's in my children's names, so if they want, they can. We've given them all the things they need, and we've turned in so many times the paperwork and the information that they request time and time and time again. We want to see records that you lived here. I turned that in last time. Well, we need it again. Why? I've showed you so many times that we were here during the crisis. Do you keep losing this fucking paperwork? Does it just get entered once and then you have to enter it again? Does it have to be re-verified? Do you want me to get a fucking notary? What the fuck do you want? I've given you birth certificates showing where my children were fucking born. I've given you transcripts showing where my kids went to fucking school. I've given you bills dating back to the time with my name on them with a Flint address. What the fuck do you want? Yeah, Wintis is coming together. And then, the most disgusting thing of all, those lawyers are making extra money on the side. Now, how do I know this? They had mistaken once my wife's name. They put it wrong on some paperwork. We got that corrected. However, 2 months later, a random telemarketer called asking for the invalid name that they had put in for my wife. They are selling your information, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. To telemarketers, to businesses, the same way Facebook does, to people trying to get you to buy a product. Now, that's just anecdotal evidence. However, I firmly believe it now. So not only are they taking something like 60% of the water settlement crisis, but they're making money off of your names, off of the ability to sell you. And that law firm happens to know just how desperate the people of Flint are. So anything and everything on the side of that, you're going to get people calling and or emailing or writing. Oh, we can invest your money. You want to retire, you want to X, Y, or Z, here you go. You just have to pay in. It's a poverty racket, as Mickey says, and he's been saying for 2 years now. And poverty pimping. They're making money off of your suffering. The worst part of all of this is the humanitarian crisis that Flint itself has created. The untold amount of human suffering, and you see a very privileged few making money off of it, privileging themselves more, while you become more and more disprivileged, dispossessed, and disillusioned with the idea of proper government. I don't think anyone in Flint will ever move away from Flint and trust any form of government again. And to be fair, Jesus Christ, I'm one of them. When I first got out of the Army, I thought, okay, big government bad, small government good. And cities usually won't screw you over. After moving from Flint, I realized when I was looking for a home, I didn't want to live in a city because I don't trust a city government. I don't trust a state government. I don't trust a county government. Because in the long run, all that they're there to do is take advantage of you. There is far more trauma that comes with living in Flint than most people will ever realize, even people who live in Flint. It takes someone who's honestly trained to sort through all these feelings and issues that we have. I've spoke with several VA doctors about it, and they've come to the conclusion that Flint was just not good for me, and I think if it isn't good for me, it isn't good for anyone else. So I'm hoping when it comes to Election Day, we take a look at the ballots properly, and I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'll tell you how to vote. You take the pencil, you fill in the bubble. You fill in the bubble of all the positions you want to vote for. You can leave some blank if you want. But I can tell you what I'd like to see. I'd like to see Ms. Rosemary Morrow in First Ward. I'd like to see Liddell recalled, which, shout out to Ms. Bev Biggs and Mr. Jeb working on that again. I did forget Third Ward. Quincy Murphy has had an active recall on him. I'm not getting into the homophobia thing. Sorry, slip of word or slip of tongue. But Miss Bev is running against him. I'd like to see her in that seat. I'd like to see City Council flipped. And I'd like to see us do away with our crooked mayor. And I'd like to see us do away with his incompetent puppet wife. And hopefully, then the city of Flint can start to heal. But until such time, things will just get worse. And you can't trust people that you put in. While you may like their position and their stance, you still have to keep on their head. No one ever does good by themselves forever. And mind you, I am friends with a lot of the people that I am sitting here talking about. Slip-ups happen. Bad influences happen. You have to keep them accountable at all times. So, you know what? 49 minutes. I can live with a 49-minute show because I haven't kept up with city council meetings. I got to go back and watch those, though I did hear that Doug acted an ass again last night. He won't even talk to Mickey. What a pussy. But, yeah, I think in that case I'm done for the day. Thank you guys for tuning in to my first show in a hot minute. And podcast room is coming together. I've got more paneling coming in today. I'm going to get some more LED lights. I'm going to make this place look nice because if I'm going to be in here broadcasting, I want you guys to feel welcome and feel that I'm putting an effort toward it. But all you stay safe. Drink water, not Flint water. Keep hydrated. I mean, you guys don't even see me with Red Bull today. I'm keeping hydrated. Protect yourself at all times. If you have a problem, call the police so there's at least a record. But take care of yourself. And you got to be far more active in your local governments. Around here, I'm stepping in and taking a look at my governments here, just because I lived in Flint and I know crookedness happens everywhere. So those of you who aren't from Flint, please keep an eye on your governments as well. I don't want to hear about you in the news being the next major humanitarian crisis in the United States. And that is something that you can start to do today to keep yourself off the news and keep your elected officials accountable. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a good day.